When you find a market with a low supply, low rents, and owners who aren't maximizing the value, that's where the real opportunity is. Today, I'm gonna break down a self-storage deal we picked up in Inman, South Carolina, a market that's wide open for someone to step in and take over. This deal will generate insane cash flow, and we should be able to profit $2 million in 4 to 5 years' time. Let me show you how. Okay, so we bought this property in Inman, South Carolina, 50,000 square feet. So it's 46,000 net rentable. So that's space that we were able to rent of self-storage. And so that plus a commercial building that's 4,800 square feet. So we're just over 50,000 square feet. We bought this property for $4 million off market. So we got this from a cold call lead, back and forth with the seller on seller financing terms. And finally, we came to an arrangement of a purchase price of $4 million with $1 million down, so only 25% down, with interest-only payments of 4%. So in this market, that's amazing because right now interest rates are 6-7%. And so to get 4% is what makes as another great part about this deal is structuring these types of deals where you can get below interest rates. So when we look at deals for self-storage, we're looking at where's the added value. And so if you look on my screen here, you can see that this property looks beautiful. It's on a main road here. There is all these roofs are pretty much new. Like the oldest ones are like 3 years old. And so new roofs, the property looks very clean. This commercial building is rented out to a pawn shop. They've been there for 10, 12 years. And essentially, they help run the facility. The owner lived actually just right here. We had to buy this property, wait to get it parceled off to separate it. So we had to get a survey done to get that separated into his land and ours. We have this portion here. And then everything in the back of it is his. And so our add value on this property is essentially, we don't have to do a lot of repairs. There's literally not much we have to do here. I'm going to go through that here in a second. But essentially for us, when we look at this facility and look at the numbers, and that's the first thing we always ask for is all the information about the property specifically, but then what are your financials? What is your gross income? So we compare what it is compared to the market. And so for this property, the rents were very low. And the occupancy is high. This is literally 98, 99% occupied when we bought this property. And so with that kind of correlation, it's literally pretty easy to just continue to push rents. Now, most times you'll see, well, why doesn't the seller just raise the rents? And so for this seller in particular, he's owned this property for a long time. He knows a lot of these people himself, and he didn't need the extra income. He'd much rather have a cash flowing business because he had no debt on it where he can continue to just make money each and every month and he doesn't have to worry about filling it up, marketing, doing all these extra things. He's got people paying, it's cash flowing, it all goes to him minus some expenses. So they're happy. And that's what you'll see with some of these mom and pop owners is they're content because they have no debt. So they're okay, keeping the rents low and having 100% occupancy. For us, we rather drive income rather than occupancy because that's what really matters. So when we got the information from the seller, we got the rent rolls, we have all their financials, we can see that going into this property, we always ask for a unit mix. A unit mix is essentially how many of each unit type do you have? So his smallest unit is 7x10s, which I love. A lot of small units, especially markets we're in, are the hardest to rent. And so right now he's charging $40 for those. He has 51 of those. 10x10s, he's got 142 of those at $60. 10x15s, 157 at $75. 10x20s, 19 of them at 10x20 units, and he has one very large unit. And so he's got a total of 370 units. So in this property, we see he is significantly below market. And so we do that by looking at comparables in the area. So we use Radius Plus or Track IQ. You can also just do this simply by using Google and just searching for, this is Inman, South Carolina. You go on here to maps, you search for nearby self-storage. So we pay for software because it makes it easier and faster. But essentially, this is our location here, Max Vault Storage. That's our new name brand. So essentially, you see all the stores around here. Now, there's a couple more that don't pull up on Google because they don't have a Google My Business page or a website. But essentially, you just call all these facilities or go to their websites and see what they're renting out units for. And so we have one of my VAs do that for me. And so when you look at these rents, there's no 5x7s for other 7x10s for other people, so that's not on here. But out of the other 3 unit types, they're charging $60 for a 10x10 on average, $75 for a 10x15, $95 for a 10x20. As you see, the other people in the market, they're charging significantly more, $20 to $30 more for a 10x10, $50, some $50 more for a 10x20. Some are still low over here, only like $20 more, but on average, it's $50 more. So like that's our add value. So for us, typically, we always want to show, when we buy a property, we always want to show improvements that we're doing to the property. And sometimes it's hard if the property has everything. This one doesn't have everything. As you see, it doesn't have a gate. It doesn't have a fence in the front. It also didn't have security cameras. And so because obviously the pawn shop's here, the owner lived over here. And so it wasn't really, they said they never had issues. They said like, hey, I don't think you need a gate and I don't think you need cameras. Like we've never had any issues, which could be true. It's definitely a good area. New build houses around there. It's overall a nice area. But we like to show there are some other properties around there that have gates, and to be competitive where we can charge the prices some of these other properties are charging. They might not be as in a great location, which they aren't, because as you can see, they're like off here, there's one over here that's kind of on the main road, but they're kind of tucked away. We're on a main road with a lot of traffic, so we have a great location. If you're serious about buying your first self-storage facility or scaling to buy your next one, Self-Storage Creators is where you want to be. We break down real deals, real numbers, and real strategies that are working right now in today's market. No fluff, no theory, just a blueprint to buy, run, and scale storage the right way. So make sure you tap in. Click the link in the description below to start building real wealth through self-storage. And so with us, we want to be able to push the rents. And the only way we want to do that is by kind of showing that we're adding value and maximizing the property for the best it can be. And so by doing that, we're going to add gates right here. So this is like a separate entrance. So we're going to have one gate here, a gate here to enter in, a gate here to exit out of. And then we added security cameras all around. So we already had the security cameras. There was no really other work needed to the property. The roofs are good. The paint's good. Essentially, what we are doing is also this section right here. The first 2 buildings were ever built. That asphalt's pretty messed up. We're going to redo that asphalt. That is expensive. It's about $50,000. And so as you see here on our rehab chart, so we're going to spend $50,000 on asphalt repairs. We have some capital for reserves. We're also going to be doing adding some additional portable storage units. So that's our additional add value, because everybody's full. And when we actually called all the facilities around, they're also very full. Like everybody's pretty much sold out. It's hard to get any, especially big units. Everybody's sold out. So we're adding an additional 24 8x20 units. So an initial almost 4,000 square feet of space. And we're going to add it here on this little path here, this little patch of grass. And then we're going to take down this fence and add them along this area here. So that's going to give us extra space to rent, which will obviously grow our income and increase our value of our property. Now, those are the Boxwell units that we're going to install. We got to do some grading there. This is the gate and fence, $58,000 for the gate and fence with keypads that connect with our software system, Tenant Inc., which will allow them to make sure that if they're not paying, that get automatically locked out. And so that's definitely important. And then about $10,000 for electrical to be running the fence and gates. And then $20,000 for cameras. We spent a little bit of money for the keypads from Spider Door. So in total, our total renovation budget is $300,000. So on this property here, going back to why we like this deal initially, is the whole area it's a growing market in this area, and there's a lot of development. As we see here, so this is Radius Plus. This is a site that gives us a lot of information about storage and the supply in the market. So we'll see here, you'll see on the square footage that there's only 6 square feet per capita, meaning out of all the population in this area, this 3-mile radius, there is 15,000 people in a 5-mile radius, there is 37,000 people. That's good for me. They're full. They're showing that there's demand. I like it. Now, the population growth is 1.5% year over year. So the population in this area is growing every single year. That's what we like. We don't want to be in a declining market where the population is declining. So this is where people are moving to. The economy is growing. Houses are being built. That's what you want to see. And then when you go to a 5-mile radius, there's actually only 4 square feet per person. So that is very low supply in this area. And the best part about this one is there's nothing being built. There's nothing else coming into this area. So that is a better benefit for us, showing us that we can continue to push these rents because the supply is so low. So it's all about supply and demand. When there's not enough supply, but there's going to be demand because more and more people are going to be moving to this market, we'll be able to push our prices up. Also the other factor here is the median income is $77,000. So that's a great income for this area. It's much higher than the average, the national average. And so that's what we like to see. Typically we want to be over 60,000. This is 77,000. So that's great for us. And it also shows you like the housing permits. So there's multifamily or single family, a lot of single family houses being built, some multifamily over here as well. I always do additional research, whether it's ChatGPT or Google, and find out what's going on else in this area. And so this is one of the things we pulled up. So this is actually from October 17th, talking about a True American plans to build a $86 million project, 33-acre development, and it's going to be a build-to-rent community. And so we actually drove by this property when we were on site, and it's like the houses are about to be being built. The roads are away, the utilities are there. So we're over here. This is our location. So this is the main road, and it's literally just a couple miles away, 3 miles away, and this whole area is going to get built out. So this is all going to be built out. All this whole area here is at $86 million expansion. So that is great for us. So there's more housing development coming in. That's more customers, especially when moving. That's where you get a lot of your customers from, people moving in and out, buying and selling houses. And so that will be a great factor for us. Now, we bought this property in January 2025, and we've already done most of the ad value. The last thing we're waiting for is the gates to be installed. That should happen in the next couple of weeks, in the middle of May. And once that is done, then we're going to go and do our rent increases. So the first thing we did after buying the property is we always add tenant insurance to our properties. This adds not only protection for the customers, but it also adds extra income for us. That's always the first thing we do. And because it does provide value for the customers, it protects their belongings. A lot of people don't know that if you store your stuff in a self-storage facility, anything can happen to your units and your belongings, and we're not responsible, which is great for us, but sometimes the customers don't know that, and their items can get ruined or whatnot. So having that kind of protection, it definitely provides value for them while also adding extra income for us. So now as we go to rent increases, we had our unit mix here. We had what we thought we can push the rents to. So $60 to $90, $75 to $110, $95 to $150, and then $200 to $480. I think that one's wrong, but that should be more like $255, I think, $1 a square foot. And so with something like this, we have the income. So you can see that the economic occupancy, so if we're 100% occupied, which he was, the economic occupancy is 66. So he's about 30, almost 40% below market on his rents. Now, we have done all the add value. We're looking at increasing the rents. And going into the numbers here, again, we bought the property for $4 million. The closing costs, third-party reports, all that, $80,000. It actually came in less than that. Facility rehab is $30,000. That's all the renovations and CapEx that we are spending on this property. We make, as the operators, a $100,000 acquisition fee. And then so the total all-in cost for us will be in at $4.48 million. Now, again, we got financing at $3 million from the seller, who's seller financing this to us at 4% interest only. Now, on the capital we had to raise, we raised $1.48 million and paying those investors an 8% pref, meaning they get the first 8% coming out the gate on all cash flow coming in. So at this property, going into this property, it doesn't cash flow well. and based on our expenses to their income, their expenses were much lower, but using our expenses on their income, the cap rate is like almost less than a 4%. So people always ask me, what cap rate are you buying at? And I really don't look at it that way. I don't look at what cap rate am I going into. It's like, where can I take it to? And so our goal is to take the cap rate much higher in the next couple of years. Now for this property, we are looking at raising the rents. You see almost $100,000. And so that rental increase with our expenses, we can raise the NOI almost $80,000 or so here. And this is the net operating income. This is what your property is valued off of. And now, so it jumped up significantly to 5.5 cap. You really want to get up to like the 8, like around this area. Now, just this past week, we were going over revenue management on this property. And this is where we saw that we're like way ahead of schedule, because we've had some vacancies pop up as people have moved out after we take ownership. And we have been able to push the rents higher than what we even have here. And the reason being is because all these facilities in this entire area, all these locations, none of them are REITs. None of them are big players. None of them are the public stores or the extra space where they charge so much more. These are all mom and pop facilities. And the crazy thing is, just like I mentioned about this one, is they're all full and all their rents are low. No one is pushing the rents in these areas. So our goal for this property is to be the leader in the market. We want to continue to push the rents and literally talk to the other owners and be like, you can get higher rents. Because as we have occupants, vacancies pop up, our phone is ringing. And even when we don't have occupancy, our phone's ringing and people are like, do you have any big units? I'm like, oh no, we're sold out. And they're like, yeah, I can't get anything. Everybody's sold out. And I already knew this. So this is why you want to push the rents. It is a benefit to your own business to have occupancy. You actually don't want to be 100% full. You want to have vacancy so you can push the rents and push the numbers and see what you can get. Because again, it's all supply and demand. Every product is its own, every unit type is its own product. So when we have 10 by 7s, we have a couple of those left, but there's not as much demand for those when someone's moving across country and they're waiting for their house to be built. They need a big unit. So the bigger units are in higher demand, but there's less supply of them. And right now in this market, there's none. So when we got a big unit available, we were able to rent at $1 a square foot. So on this unit, a 10 by 20, we have it as, the market, the other competitors, some of them we're charging $150. Some of them are still charging $115, but they're sold out and have a wait list. So why would you keep charging that low amount? It does not make sense. The market's telling you that you can charge more because there's less supply and there is still demand out there. So with with the unit we had come available, we were able to get $200 a month for this single unit that's a 10 by 20. So when we have customers paying $95, it doesn't make sense to have people still paying $95 when we can have potential new customers come in and pay what the market's saying that someone will pay, $200. So because when we had that available, they rent quick because nobody else has it. So that is why we are, in my eyes, ahead of schedule. I believe with the rent increases we're going to put in place around year 2, end of year 2 numbers, around $435,000 of gross income, and be a year ahead of schedule, which is great for this property and great for our investors. So, but for our underwriting, we always go pretty conservative. We always look at, worst case scenario, how long does it take? Like right here, I put, so we are looking to raise the rents, and we always put, like, being conservative, that we're going to lose some occupancy doing that. Now, are we going to lose 30% of the people? I don't believe so. But again, we try to be very conservative with our numbers. Overall, in this deal, we feel like we can be stabilized at 90%. 90% is ideally where we want to be on something like this, where that shows like very high demand. We could probably even be higher, but like I said, you want to have some vacancy because it allows you to push those numbers, those rental rates on certain unit types that are in heavy demand. And so all in all in this deal, we're looking at owning it for 5 years, turning around, selling it for $5.5 million. Over that time frame, though, you can see that we're getting significant cash-on-cash returns. After year 2, 11%. And again, I think we'll be at this number this year, 11%. Next year, almost 15%, and it continues to grow from there. And so all in all, with our investors in this deal who put in $1.48 million, their total returns are going to be just over 1.3 million, almost doubling their money in 5 years. But really, I'd say this will be a 4-year term. And so it will be more like a 20% IRR ROI annualized, which means that every single year they're going to get, after we sell, about a 20% profit. Now on this property, it is a very nice big property, as you see here. And these are the kind of assets I'd rather keep and hold. Now, we negotiated with the seller a 7-year interest-only term. And so we have options to, continue to hold it, continue to cash flow, let the rates continue to rise as more people move into this market, and either sell or refinance at that point in time. We've already bought another property in this area, and we're looking for more in this area as well. So depending on where we're at in the future, we can look to package this with other properties and sell it as a portfolio and try to maximize the most dollars we can and get maybe even a higher sales price when we go to sell it. Or we look to refinance it, pay off the seller on the seller finance note, get bank financing in place, and then just continue to cash flow this property, pay it down over time, and hold it. As I said, it's a nice big asset. It's very clean, great area, low supply, and these are the kind of deals we're looking for because it has add value. As this property was maxed out and they were charging market rents, there's nothing else to do on that property. Where this one has significant add value because the rents were significantly below market and there's so much supply. I wish almost if we can buy more of this land here to add more buildings, because there's just a lack of supply. We're going to add some buildings here and here, but there's not really any other space to do it. This is like a hill here, so we would have to do a lot of grading to make that work, and I don't think it's worth it for an extra one building. But this is a great deal, an amazing off-market deal that can be obtained just by cold calling, just by talking to sellers, just finding the right person at the right time who's ready to sell. It's really that simple if you know how to learn how to have the conversations, know what questions to ask, and know what you're looking for. And what we're looking for is value-add opportunities. That's it. That's the full breakdown. If you got value from this, make sure you subscribe. We're uploading videos every week on how you can buy your own business like self-storage. See you there in the next one.